Hey everyone, welcome to the video. We are back doing some iRacing DFS for the Pro Invitational Series. This week we're going to be at Richmond International Speedway starting at 1 p.m. Eastern. Last week they took the week off because of Easter, and the week before that we had our first ever iRacing event at Bristol Motor Speedway, which was an absolute mess. Hope you guys did okay, and if you didn't do okay, I hope you guys at least had fun watching somewhat of a contest since there's no sports on at the moment. But before we get into the video, as always, if you guys could just leave a like, and if you're new to the channel, please hit that subscribe button. Really helps me out, really appreciate it. I'll be here all year long doing videos once sports continue. I do baseball, I do NASCAR, I do football, and I do basketball. So once those return, I'll be doing videos every single day for that. Hopefully baseball can come back sometime late spring or maybe early summer if we're lucky, maybe July 4th. I have no idea. As for NASCAR, it sounds like we're going to be starting racing within the next few weeks, maybe 4 weeks, maybe late May, but it sounds like they want to start racing pretty quick within the next couple of weeks. They're looking at possibly getting a race in at Homestead in Florida, considering Florida's kind of opening up stuff really soon. I know they just opened up the beaches, so maybe they can get a race in soon at Florida. That would be awesome, but again, I have no idea. That is just pure speculation. But yeah, and if you want to follow me on Twitter, I'm at Pennell16. I try to retweet as much information as I can possible. I know a lot of you probably don't know much about NASCAR, so I know who to follow and try to retweet for information from the beat reporters, so I will do that and also tweet my own stuff out as well. And then I do have Patreon content, but not for iRacing. I will have this spreadsheet on my Patreon. I wouldn't really recommend signing up for it just because it's kind of whatever. It's not something I'm like going over the moon about. But if it's on there and you do want the spreadsheet and get my Discord chat, you can sign up and I'll refund you instantly. So, but I mean, I wouldn't really sign up for Patreon for this. But once NASCAR continues, then you can. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it for the plugging. I think I went over everything, so we can probably get into the video right about now. So we'll start off with our preview, which I usually always do in all my NASCAR videos. All right, so here's my super fancy info slide. So this is the Richmond Pro Invitational. I didn't know what else to call it, and I hope I spelled Invitational right. And there's just an outline of the track. This is Richmond International Speedway. It's a short, flat track. It's only 0.75 mile in length. There's going to be another 150 lap race like we did at Bristol. I believe it was 150. And that means we have 112.5 Dominator points available. And Dominator points, if you don't know what they are, I do have a How to Play NASCAR DFS video. You can watch that. But Dominator points are fast laps and laps led. You get 0.25 points per lap led and 0.5 points per fast lap. All right, and some notes for this. So there's only 26 drivers locked in this week. I believe at Bristol there was near 40, if I remember correctly. A lot more drivers. It was a complete mess. I feel like this was probably from Fox trying to get not as many caution laps just to make people want to watch the race more. Because if you watch the Bristol race, it was caution after caution after caution. I don't know how many cautions there were total. I want to say there was over 15. It was pretty crazy. But they only have 26 drivers locked in, and there's going to be 30 total. So that means there's going to be 4 drive-in drivers. And the way they're going to do that is they're going to take the top 2 from the last chance qualifier race that goes on at 10:30 a.m. on Sunday. And the top 2 in that race, they make it in. And then the next 2 is said it was chosen by Fox. And I don't know what that means. Maybe it's a fan vote. Maybe it's just the 2 they want in. I have no idea. So don't ask me. Maybe we'll find some more information on that on Twitter. And the drivers that are eligible for the last chance qualifier race, it's going to be Dale Earnhardt Jr., Bobby Labonte, Landon Castle, Brennan Poole, J.J. Yaley, Daniel Suarez, Corey LaJoie, Michael McDowell, Chad Bencham, I think his name's Chad, pretty sure, Cole Custer, and Joey Gase. And qualifying, they're going to have... So this is separate from that last chance qualifier race. Now we're going to go into qualifying for the main event. And it's going to be a 2-lap qualifying run, and it should only take roughly about 2 minutes, 2 to 3 minutes, I believe Bob Pockgrass reported on Twitter. Now they're not going to be doing it separate. It's all going to be done at once, I believe that's what he said. So it's only going to take a couple minutes. And I don't think we're going to know the qualifying order before lock. If you were playing in the Bristol contest, they kept moving the start time of the actual contest back. That's because they were doing their dual races, and we're kind of actually getting some information on who's going to start in the front, who's going to start in the back. So if you're watching those, you actually got a pretty big edge because we knew William Byron is more than likely going to start in the pole. So I made Dominator. Eric Jones started in the back. Clint Boyer started in the back. Labonte started in the back. Eric Jones, his internet just absolutely screwed everything up. But the other guys, they all moved up, so we had a little bit of an edge there. I don't think we're going to get that this week. I know DraftKings said they can move the start of the contest back, but if qualifying is only going to be like 2 or 3 minutes, that's not going to be enough time to update like 150 contests or whatever your single entry. It's just not worth it. So don't plan on knowing the qualifying order beforehand. If for some reason they do it a lot earlier than 1 o'clock, hey, that's great. But I don't think that's going to be the case. And we also don't have any fast resets this week. And I think that's a big thing because I feel like drivers are going to drive more tame, because if you don't know what a fast reset is in iRacing, so if your car gets absolutely destroyed, you can come down pit lane and then you switch of a button, magic, your car is brand new. That's not going to happen this time. Now, if they wreck, it doesn't mean their cars are completely toast. They can still fix them up a little bit, but it's going to cost them in the pits. So no fast resets. I believe the last race we had 1 or 2, so no fast resets, kind of important. And I just kind of put less wrecks, maybe more tame racing. Maybe Dale Earnhardt Jr. says even though that they lowered the driver field, it's still going to be a mess. It is a short track, so we'll see, but maybe that helps a little bit. Drivers will drive a little bit more tame. But that's pretty much it I can do for the preview. And I do want to say I'm by no means an iRacing DFS expert. I wouldn't say really anybody is. It's a video game. It's it's a very luck-based video game because if someone else crashes into you, I mean, that's not that driver's fault. That's the other driver's fault. So there's a lot of variables here. This is mostly just for fun. If you're bored, maybe you throw in 150 lineups in the quarter, the 50-cent entries, just to make 150 lineups and just try to get as much combinations as you can. Maybe play some single entries, but hey, it's something to do while we don't have any sports on. But now we can get into the main sheet, and I also made a driver log as well. So I'm pretty much just going to read you guys some stats off. We'll go through it together. Again, if anyone's telling you they know exactly what's going to happen for this iRacing event, I mean, they're lying to you. I mean, we can make some educated guess, for sure, yes. There's also some other videos you can watch out there. I know Brandon Cruz on YouTube. If you look up his name, Brandon Cruz DFS, I believe that's his name. I don't know if you're watching this. If I messed that name up, I'm sorry. But I'm pretty sure it's Brandon Cruz DFS. He posted a practice video where he went into the session, because I know he iRaces. He went into the session and he was showing some practice time. So I was taking a look at that. And so if you just want some extra information, you can certainly look at that as well. But let's just go over the spreadsheet as of right now, and we'll go through it. I'm going to try to go through this quicker than I did last video. I know the last video maybe was like 15 minutes long. Sorry, that was probably super boring. But anyway, let's get into this sheet. All right, so starting all the way up top, we have William Byron. He comes in at 11,000. He is basically what Kyle Busch is in real life, and he's pretty much that in iRacing. The guy's an absolute beast. He dominated the last race, so he's the most expensive driver, but we're certainly going to want some exposure to him. If you want to make him your highest owned driver, I totally get it, because if he starts up front and he's probably going to lead a whole bunch of laps, he might lead another 100 laps, and if you don't have him in any top fives, it's pretty much GG for you. So far this season, past 3 races, I'm going to say season, okay? He's averaging about 40 DraftKings points per race. Average finish of 14, but that's a little bit skewed because one of the races he didn't suck. He was doing good, but he wrecked, so it gave him a bad finish. But nonetheless, he's been very, very good. Average start of 2, so we don't know what the qualifying order is going to be before the race. So if I had to put money on who's going to start first, it's William Byron for me. I don't really see how you could say anything otherwise. He's always fast. Probably going to put up a fast lap. So if I had to guess, William Byron's going to be on the pole, and he's probably going to be your guy you want for the Dominator. Now the average PD, it's going to look gross because of his average finish, but again, the average finish is skewed. He does have a win. He won last week. He dominated that race. By far has led the most laps. By far. 224 laps led. He's got a top 5. He's got top 5. He's got 2 top 10s. The guy's been absolutely great. If you look at the driver log here, last week at Bristol, let me make sure you guys can see this. Also, I think I fixed the black flickering in the background. I realized I'd never updated OBS in the past year, which is what I used to record on. So I think that might have been why. But hopefully no black flickering, because I rewatched that video and it was really annoying me. So I'm sure it annoyed you guys. But anyway, William Byron, last week at Bristol, he started first. He finished first. He had 17 fastest lap, and he had 116 laps led, 84 fantasy points. If you didn't have him, you didn't win money. Simple as that. At Texas, started first, finished 7th, 80 laps led, 51 points. And then at Homestead, which was the first iRace, started second, finished 34th because he got into some trouble with Alex Bowman. Still had 28 laps led, negative 15 fantasy points. That's what's going to skew his numbers, but he's by far the guy you want. As you can see, he started first, second. If you had to guess who's going to start on the pole, It's going to be William Byron, and that means he's going to get the jump on the restart. So I'm definitely going to be looking to have quite a bit of William Byron in my lineups. Next guy, I don't think I'm going to talk about every single driver in depth because I know it can be really drawn out. But I know I'm going to want to talk about these high-priced guys because certainly we want them in our lineups. How do I say that now? But I'll probably end up talking about every driver. But Timmy Hill, he comes in at 10,600. He's averaging 52 DraftKings points per race. Just from a number standpoint, he's been the best driver consistently each week. Now, William Byron, again, that number's skewed, but it still counts. He got that negative 15 points. You can't just throw that away, which I'd like to, but you can't. So Timmy Hill's technically been the most consistent driver each week. He's averaging 52 DraftKings points per race, 2.33 average finish, which is by far the best out of any driver. Average start of 9. So he's actually getting you some PD as well. Now, he's not starting up front, but he's kind of starting, around 10th, which is fine because if he's going to top 3 every race, which it seems like he does, then it's going to be pretty darn good. And he's got the chance of dominating as well if he can get past William Byron, which I know is tough. But hey, if he starts around, let's say, 6th to 10th, and he's going to finish 2nd or 3rd again, maybe even win the race and lead some laps, he's going to be a pretty good play. Now, it's hard to fit both him and Byron in. I understand that. And a lot of these cheap drivers you certainly don't want to play. But hey, you can build your lineups like that. I know Timmy Hill, he did great last week. If you look at the driver log, at Bristol, he started 10th, finished 3rd, had 5 fastest laps, 51 DraftKings points. Now, see, if William Byron's going to start in the pole and Timmy Hill's not going to start in the pole, just the dominator points he's going to get makes him so much of a better play. So I'll definitely have more exposure to William Byron, but Timmy Hill's definitely a good play as well. And the week before that, started 10th, finished 1st, then started 7th, finished 3rd. So I like that he's not qualifying at the very, very front, but he's a very good iRacer. He iRaces a ton. His setup's not even great either. I know he's got a steering wheel and a laptop or desktop computer, but he's won over I want to say around 700 iRaces before, not like Pro Invitational obviously, but he iRaces a ton, tons of experience. Experience is king here for iRacing. So Timmy Hill, yes, he's a good play. Would I play him over William Byron? Probably not, but I don't know who's going to start on the pole. If Timmy Hill somehow starts on the pole, yeah, maybe he's the guy who's going to be like William Byron last week and dominate the race, but I have no way of knowing. If you're just going on past data, I would say William Byron's going to start closer to the front than Timmy Hill is. Ryan Preece, he comes in at 10,200. I still feel like he's a little bit expensive here, but he has been very, very good, averaging 42 DraftKings points per race, average finish of 5.33, averaging 12th starting position, which is nice because he's getting, on average, 7 place differential points per race. Does not have a win yet, has led 8 laps, 1 top 5, 3 top 10, so he's been very, very consistent. I wouldn't play him over Timmy Hill or William Byron. I know he's a little bit cheaper, but I just don't think he has the dominator upside that those guys do. But he has been very good. If you look at the driver log, he started 13th, 7th, 4th, finished 8th, 2nd, 6th. Very, very good. He's been in the top 10 all 3 times. 41, 49, 37 DraftKings points. He's fine, but he's on the outside looking in if I'm looking to play a guy like William Byron or Timmy Hill, because you're definitely not going to be able to play all 3. I mean, you might if you end up playing some of these scrubs at the end, but I wouldn't really recommend it. Getting out of that 10K above tier, we're going to go down to Dale Earnhardt Jr., who's at 9,900. So he's not even locked into this race. And the cool thing is, I'm kind of hoping he doesn't get into the race, because I know a lot of people aren't going to pay attention to this all day. They're probably making their lineups right now. They're probably making their lineups all Saturday. And they're probably just assuming Dale Earnhardt Jr. is in the race. Now, I think he might have a questionable tag near him, but maybe they'll think that's a mistake because people are going to play Dale Earnhardt Jr. just because because of his name. And I know not everyone's going to keep up with all the news all the way up until the race starts. So if Dale Earnhardt Jr. misses this race, we might get some decent ownership on him and he won't even be in the race. So that could be a big edge. So maybe we root for Dale Earnhardt Jr. not making the race. I feel like he's going to end up making it, but if he does, he's fine. He's not 10K, which is nice, still 9,900, but only averaging 31 DraftKings points per race. He had a really awful race last week, which is pretty disappointing because I had a decent amount of them. Averaging average finish is 10th. Average starting position is 6th. He's averaging negative 4 place differential points per race, but he had a really, really bad race last week. So I'm willing to give him the benefit of the doubt there. 28 laps led, which I believe is second most of all drivers. Does have a top 5, 2 top 10s. If you look at the driver log, Dale Jr., he usually starts pretty high. Now, since he starts really high, he's probably going to have to lead some laps for him to be viable, especially around 10K. That's the problem because you got William Byron, you got Timmy Hill up there. but it's definitely possible, especially if William Byron gets an issue, or maybe Timmy. I keep wanting to say Tilliam Hill, Timmy Hill. He started 5th, 2nd, and 5th so far. Finished 22nd at Bristol, which, again, that's awful. I don't expect that to happen again. Before that, though, 6th and 2nd. Almost won that race at Homestead until Denny Hamlin passed him. But 49 points, 38 points, 7 points. He's fine. For him to be optimal, though, probably going to have William Byron to not start up front or get wrecked. And same goes for Timmy Hill. Okay, going down to John Hunter Nemechek. He actually had a really, really good race, not last week, but the week before that. He looked really good in the dual race, so I ended up putting some ownership on him just in case maybe he got up front and led some laps. That didn't happen because William Byron just absolutely dominated the world. But he started 2nd, finished 2nd. It was a really good race for him. He had 44 DraftKings points. He also wasn't that expensive. They jacked his price all the way up, but it's understandable. I mean, he's a younger guy. Younger guys usually get the advantage here in iRacing, but averaging 27 DraftKings points per race, average finish of 13. Last week definitely helped. Average starting position of 9th. -4 place differential points on average, but 10 laps led, 2 top 10s. Oh, it does have a top 5. I don't know why it doesn't say he has a top 5. Let me fix that. Okay, yeah, so he does have a top 5. Looked really good last week. I already went over the driver log, I think. So John Hunter Nemechek, he's a GPP play because, again, at 9,600, it's going to be hard for him to be optimal just because you got guys like William Byron, Timmy Hill, Ryan Preece, Dale Earnhardt Jr. I think they're way more likely to lead laps than he is, but he's a GPP play. Maybe you want to throw 5-10% on him just in case he gets up front and lead laps. I wish I could tell you guys where these guys are going to start. No idea. If I had to guess, probably just around 10th. I mean, if you're just looking at the average start from the past 3 races. So Nemechek's fine in GPPs. It definitely wouldn't be a cash play. I wouldn't even recommend playing cash for iRacing, but I know some of you probably will. Denny Hamlin, I liked him a lot last week. You guys know what I mean by last week. There was no race last week, but last race. I liked him a lot, and that's because if you're watching the dual races, I believe he ended up wrecking at some point, and he was just in the back, so he's going to start near the back. He crushed. He absolutely crushed. I believe he was in the optimal because he went off, but he's averaging 44 DraftKings points per race so far, average finish of just north of 10. Usually starting around 17th, but it's a little bit skewed because of his dual race last week. So the average PD is going to look pretty good as well. Does have a win, won that opening race over Dale Earnhardt Jr. at the very end. He has 17 total laps led. 2 top 5s, 2 top 10s. If you look at the driver log, Denny Hamlin. So yeah, he started 26th last week, so he was a great PD play. Ended up finishing 4th, 62 DraftKings points. I'm pretty sure he was on the optimal. Had quite a bit of Denny Hamlin. Also had quite a bit of Eric Jones, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But yeah, and then at Texas, I believe he got into some trouble. He started 17th, finished 24th. I know he didn't practice a lot that week. Only had 14 DraftKings points, so it is what it is. But first week, started 9th, finished 1st, 58 DraftKings points. So I think chances are Denny Hamlin should be a pretty good play. He could always get up front as well. He's got a really nice iRacing rig, which I know doesn't mean much considering Timmy Hill is one of the best iRacers, but he's got one of the worst setups. Still, it's nice when you have like a spaceship in your living room like Denny Hamlin does. So yeah, Hamlin, he's fine. Garrett Smithley, he's another guy. He's fine. Again, these guys are, I'd say Smithley, Nemechek, Dale, they're all GPP plays along with Ryan Preece because I just trust William Byron and Timmy Hill more. They just feel like rock solid plays. And I know they're really expensive, but you get what you pay for here. These guys are a little bit more iffy. I feel like Denny Hamlin's fine in cash just because he's a little bit cheaper, and I feel like I trust him quite a bit. But Smithley, he's fine. 44 DraftKings points per race. That's still very good. I believe that's, 3rd best out of all drivers. So he's been pretty rock solid. He was also used to be a little bit more expensive, I believe. So they've dropped his price a little bit, which makes him feel a little bit better. Average finish of 5.66. Average start of 9th. 3 top 10s, 2 top 5s, 24 laps led so far. He's been very, very consistent. Driver log, he started 14th, finished 9th, started 12th, finished 3rd, started 1st, finished 5th. 41, 50, 41. I mean, that's okay for that 9K price tag, but it's not going to kill you. So Garrett Smithley, he's fine. Nothing else I can really say. Let's see. Parker Kligerman starts off in the 8K tier. Only averaging 30 DraftKings points per race so far. Average start of 8th. Average finish position of 10.6. No wins, no laps led, no top 5s, 1 top 10. I feel like he's kind of the guy. I feel like he's a guy that we can feel comfortable not having too much of because I just don't think he's going to get up front, lead laps. He hasn't shown ability to top 5 so far. And again, some of that can be a little bit luck-based, but I mean, maybe I'll have a little bit of him. I'm going to make 150 lineups just because I'm going to cover my bases because this is going to be a very variant race. But Kligerman, you can throw him in a couple, but not too interested. If you look at the driver log, Kligerman started 8th, 4th, 11th, finished 13th, 12th, 7th, 43, 24, 26. It's just, don't really like it at that price tag. So Kligerman might be a little bit underweight on there, although I have no idea how the ownership's going to be. If I had to guess, he might be around 15-20%. Alex Bowman, 8,700. Just because he's a Cup driver, he's going to be a little bit higher owned than that. But he's been very good, averaging 40 DraftKings points per race, average finish of 8.3, average start of 10th. And he does have a top 5, 2 top 10s. If you look at the driver log, started 7th, started 20th, 12th, finished 6th, 5th, 14th, 54 points, 44 points, 24 points. He's been good. I think Alex Bowman's a fine play, especially at that price tag. And I was going to say something else, but I forget. But Alex Bowman, 8,700. I feel like he's going to be popular just because it's Alex Bowman. A lot of people like Alex Bowman. He's a young guy, so I don't mind him. Definitely have some ownership on him. Kyle Busch, his price went way up. I believe he was 6,500 in the last race, bumped all the way up to 8,500. Now, if you look at the driver log in his last race, it's going to show that he finished 18th, and that's not great. 19 fantasy points, but he was driving really, really well. I want to say he was in the top 10 most of the day. I think he was in the top 5, too, for a little bit. Ended up, I believe he got spun out, so that screwed him a little bit, but he was doing really good. As you can see, he had 10 fastest laps. He was fast, and I know he's been iRacing this week. I think he did something with, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think he was doing something with F1 or IndyCar. No, same thing, right? But I don't really pay attention to that, but yeah, Kyle Busch, he's been making some improvements, and they jacked his price up, which I understand. Now, I don't feel too comfortable with it, but if he's going to start, so he's been all over the place where he starts. 34th, which was his first race. So he didn't have much iRacing experience. Then the next week, 19th. Then the next week, 6th. So he's gaining experience. I think he's probably going to drive pretty solid. It wouldn't surprise me if he top 10. I feel like he's probably going to finish anywhere from 10th to 15th if he can avoid some wrecks. Maybe even better than that. He's really good at Richmond in real life. I know that really doesn't mean too much because, they're all in the same equipment. Like Timmy Hill's in the worst equipment. He usually finishes last. Kyle Busch is in some of the best equipment ever. He's really, really good, though, in real life at Richmond. I said last week, MDB, he finished 5th. He's pretty good at Bristol. Ran really well there. So Kyle Busch, he's good here in real life. It's Kyle Busch. He's been making some improvements each week. I think he's going to be fine. 8,500. It's pretty expensive, but people are going to play Kyle Busch just because of the name. He's great in real life NASCAR. So Kyle Busch, he's fine. On average, if you look at the season stats, though, only 22 DraftKings points per race, average finish of 21.3, average start of 20th. But I like the improvements he's been making each week. Matthew D. Benedetto, he comes in at 8,300. He's been pretty good so far. He's a solid iRacer, 41 DraftKings points per race, average finish of 10, averaging 7 place differential spots per race. Does have a top 5. Obviously, would have a top 10 as well. Finished 5th last week if you look at the driver log. Started 21st, finished 5th, then started 16th, 15th, 11th. Each week, he has made positive place differential. If he starts around the teens this week or even around 20, I think he's a pretty solid play. 38 points, 30 points, 56 points. Nothing bad I can say about MDB, so don't mind him at all. Clint Boyer, I'm just a Clint Boyer fan, so I don't mind him. And I know he makes jokes about how much he sucks at iRacing, but he's not been too bad if you look at the end results. 38 DraftKings points per race, which is a pretty decent shade of green. Has an average finish of 12.66, averaging 7 place differential spots per race. Average start of 19. No top 5s or top 10s yet. Obviously no wins or laps led, but he's not doing too bad. If you look at the driver log, started 11th, finished 16th. That's not great. 23 DraftKings points. Started 15th, finished 11th. Showed some improvement. Then the week before that, he got into some trouble in the dual race. I went really heavy on Clint Boyer. I didn't feel great about it, but I did. I did put him in my lineups. He started 32nd, finished 11th, got a fast lap, and got 55 DraftKings points. I'm pretty sure he was on the optimal. I'm not totally sure. At least he was close to it for sure. I know MDB was in it. Clint Boyer, Denny Hamlin maybe, then William Byron. I don't know what the other one was. But yeah, Clint Boyer, he's been showing improvements each week as well. Now, he's not going to start 32nd every race. I mean, maybe. I have no idea. But so Clint Boyer, I don't mind him. He's fine. Landon Castle, he's one of the guys that has to drive in, if I remember correctly. So make sure you check who makes the main event when you're watching the Last Chance qualifier race. I actually don't think they're televising that, so you probably just have to watch out for it on Twitter. I'll probably tweet it out, I'd imagine. I'll try to retweet something, so keep your eyes out for that. But Landon Castle, he's been okay. I feel like he's been a little bit disappointing. He used to be in that 9K range. They've been dropping him down, but it's deservedly so because he's not been too fantastic. Does have a top 5 though, but he has an average finish of 12, average start of 9, so he's averaging -3 place differential spots per race. I just don't see him getting up front, and that's the problem. But I do like that his price did drop a little bit. Started 10, started 5th, started 12th, 20th, 4th, 12th. I mean, he's not been bad. He had a really good race at Texas, but 30, 41, 18. Price drop was nice, but again, I don't even know if he's going to make the race. So make sure you guys keep your eyes out for that news. Christopher Bell, he's a pretty seasoned iRacer. He was really, really cheap last race. I want to say he was in that 5K range if I remember correctly, so he's one of my favorite cheap guys. He did well in the duel, and he was actually running really well for most of the race. Then I believe he got caught up into something, had to pit, so numbers look pretty bad as an end result. And if you're looking at the numbers on here, they're terrible. Averaging 11 DraftKings points per race, average finish of 24, average start of 15, averaging -9 place differential spots per race. But this is mostly due to bad luck. Christopher Bell's a pretty decent iRacer, so if you want a nice GPP play, you could go with Christopher Bell and just hope the ownership's low because he's just been doing so bad. And most people are going to make their lineups based on their game log, so I can't imagine most people are going to play Christopher Bell whatsoever. Started 27th, finished 26th. Started 14th, finished 34th. Started 3rd, finished 12th. That's not bad, though, end result, but he qualified really high. I don't think he's going to qualify that high this time. So Bell, he's fine. Now, they did jack his price up, which I don't like, but I think that makes him interesting in GPPs. Not something I'm going to go too overboard on, but I don't hate it. Michael McDowell, he's another guy that's not locked into the race. He's going to be that last chance qualifier race, so keep your eyes out for that. I'm not going to go too in-depth there, but averaging 30 DraftKings points per race, finish of 15th, finished 10th, finished 14th, finished 23rd. He's not been too bad the past 2 races, so we'll see if he gets into the race, but again, no idea if he's going to make it in. Joey Logano, not a big iRacer, but he has an average finish of 16. He's not been doing too bad. He's not sucking. He's just kind of more middle of the pack, which I don't expect to change too much, so he's fine. Averaging 30 DraftKings points per race. The price is okay, but it's not like he's dirt cheap either. Price did rise. His price did raise from the last race, but he's been okay. He's not killing your lineups. Tyler Reddick, he did really good last race, if I remember correctly. I want to say he finished in the top 10. He got an 8th place finish, 3 fastest laps, 43 DraftKings points. Started 13th both races. He was terrible at Texas, but finished very, very well at Bristol. Not sure which side of Tyler Reddick we're going to see this time around. Probably somewhere in the middle. But again, if he starts in the back, he'll be a good play. If he starts up front, probably not going to be a good play. But if we just go on his average starting position of 13, wouldn't trust it too much because I don't think he'd top 10 or anything. But maybe he's a guy you put in a couple lineups. Kevin Harvick, this is going to be his first iRace. And I did watch some of his practice on Brandon Cruz's video. Didn't look too bad. I think he was upper half of the practice times. Now, not everyone was practicing, but it wasn't terrible. He made quite a few laps run, so he's at least been practicing. I don't know what to tell you, though. It's his first iRacing event. He's an older guy, so I feel like he's not a big iRacer. I could be totally wrong, and he iRaces a lot, but I feel like if he iRaces a lot, he would have been in the first couple of races, so maybe he's bored and he wants to iRace. So I'd be a little bit wary on playing Kevin Harvick. He's got a good name, so people might just play him based off the name, and I totally get that because he's awesome in real life. He crushes Richmond in real life, so you could use that as well. But he has no data to go off of, so can't really talk too much about Kevin Harvick. Bobby Labonte, he's also in that last chance qualifier race, I believe. Yes, he is. And he's been decent so far, averaging 36 DraftKings points per race, average finish of 14, average start of 22, average place differential of 7. He started in the back in the last race, I believe, if we looked at the driver log. Yeah, he started 30th because he was in some trouble in that duel race. Finished 13th, got 50 DraftKings points, also started in the back in Homestead. He's been fine. Like, he's not trying to make a name for himself. Guys like Timmy Hill, he's not a really well-known driver, so he's trying to make a name for himself in iRacing because all the fans are watching. I mean, he's already made a name for himself in iRacing, but all the actual NASCAR fans are watching. They're like, hey, Timmy Hill's got some iRacing skills, so boost his name up a little bit. He wants to drive for some publicity. Bobby Labonte, he doesn't need that at this point of his career, so he's kind of just there for some fun, so he's kind of just chilling when he goes in there, and that's fine because the less aggressive you are, if you're not a dominator, probably the better for your DFS lineups because that means they're less likely to wreck. But we don't know if he's going to be in the race or not. So again, I'll try to tweet out if I can who's going to be in the race, who's not going to be for that last chance qualifier race. But he's been pretty good so far. Let's see, Bubba Wallace, he rage quit in the last race. I got to double check he's still in this race. Yeah, Bubba's still in it. He rage quit the last race. It was a pretty tough scene there. And he also lost a sponsor over it. Blue Emu, I think? That's how you say it. Lost a sponsor, but looks like he's going to be back. And hopefully Clint Boyer doesn't wreck him intentionally so he doesn't rage quit. But Wallace, he's not been that great so far. iRacing, obviously the rage quit last week is going to definitely kill your average numbers. He finished 32nd last week, which I believe was dead last. -4 points. Was good at Homestead. Wasn't too good at Bristol, Texas. Obviously wasn't good at Bristol either. So Bubba's kind of whatever. I mean, it seems a little bit expensive for him. He's a younger guy, though. Does have a top 10, but nothing too exciting there. Eric Jones, this guy has internet problems. I would not trust him. So he didn't do the dual race because the internet didn't connect. I figured maybe it was just something minor. So I put him in a lot of my lineups because he was starting dead last, and I figured it was going to be a wreck fest. So I figured, hey, just move up like 10, 15 spots. We'll take it. Don't expect much. Well, the guy didn't even start the race on time because the internet didn't work. He ended up joining like 10 laps behind. Internet went out again. Next thing I knew, he was 130 laps down or something. So just know this guy. He's got some major internet issues, which is crazy to me considering he's a professional NASCAR driver. I feel like he'd have decent Wi-Fi. But hey, maybe, I don't know where he lives. Maybe out in the country. But average finish of 15.5. Averaging 20 DraftKings points per race. Average start of 26. He starts in the back typically. So if his internet's fine, he should move up some spots, averaging 11 place differential spots per race. Does have a top 10. So if you look at the driver log. Yeah, Jones last week started 31st, finished 31st, which is 13 points is better than some drivers got. Better than Bubba. He got -4. But at Texas, he finished 21st. And then at Homestead, he finished 10th. Got 49 DraftKings points. So, again, just be aware of his internet issues because internet can be a big deal for iRacing. Chase Elliott. Much better Cup driver than he is iRacer. Only averaging 19 DraftKings points per race, average finish of 20. Starts in the back most races. Sorry, just on average. 3 place differential points per race. Driver log's not going to be too pretty either. Finished 30th, 20th, 24th. Not very good at iRacing. So, I mean, you can play him just because of his name, but yeah, I wouldn't expect too much from Chase. And pretty much at this point, after we talked about Labonte, it's going to go downhill quick for these guys because they're just not the greatest iRacers in the world. Kurt Busch, he's an older guy, doesn't really iRace too much, if I remember reading that correctly. Averaging 27 DraftKings points a race, which is not too bad. Average finish of 21 is not that great, though. But typically starts in the back, so you might get some cheap place differential points. Does have a top 10 as well. If you look at the driver log, Kurt Busch finished 19th, 10th, 35th, 54 DraftKings points at Texas, which is awesome. So maybe we get a replication of that, but again, don't know where these guys are going to start. But if I had to assume, Kurt Busch is probably going to start around 20th, maybe even worse. So he might be a decent place differential play as long as he can avoid the wrecks. Daniel Suarez, I would not recommend playing Daniel Suarez. This guy is terrible in real life racing and at iRacing, and he tends to get in some scraps with some guys. I don't know what it is, but he's also not locked in either. He's in the last chance qualifier race. I doubt he makes it in. If he does by chance make it in by miracle, I wouldn't really play him. He's averaging half a point so far. Average finish of 30th. I believe he's wrecked out both times. He got parked the one time, averaging -14 place differential spots, averaging a 16th place starting position. Hard no for me on Daniel Suarez. Driver log. Started 23rd, finished 27th. Started 9th, finished 33rd. It's pretty bad for Daniel Suarez out there, so probably going to pass on him. Ross Chastain, if we can get back to it, almost to the end. He's averaging 20.5 DraftKings points per race. Not too bad given the price point. Again, we're going to have to play some of these cheap drivers if you guys want to play guys like Timmy Hill, William Byron. It's not fun to play these guys, but we're going to have to. So, Ross Chastain, he's fun. He's probably going to get Kyle Larson's ride, the 42 car, because I know you guys probably know what happened with Kyle Larson. So, Ross Chastain, I know it has nothing to do with that racing. Maybe he's pumped up. I don't know, feeling good. Maybe it's a nice high race, not sure. Average finish of 17, average start of 19th. If he can start around 20th, I think he'll be a fine play. There's nothing really else I can say much about Ross Chastain. Driver log, finished 16th, 22nd, 14th. I feel like he's probably going to be around 30th DraftKings points. But at his price point, that's not too bad. So don't mind Ross Chastain. Jimmy Johnson, not the best iRacer in the world at all. Much better real-life Cup driver. I mean, he's an older guy too. I mean, he's won 7 championships. He's a very much older guy. But averaging 23, average finish of 23, averaging 25 DraftKings points per race. Average start of 28 though. He is getting 5 place differential spots per race. If you look at the driver log, finished 31st, finished 19th, finished 21st. Probably not going to be too pretty for Jimmy Johnson, but 31 and 28 DraftKings points is not bad at all given that price point. So if you want to play some Jimmy Johnson, I don't hate it, but don't expect much. Just hope he avoids the wrecks. Now, Brad Keselowski, I think he's interesting this week because when I was watching Brandon's video, Keselowski had just one of the practice sessions, he had almost 300 laps ran, and he was making a lot of laps. So it looks like he's practicing, and at 6K, I'll take some experience there at least. Only averaging 21 DraftKings points per race, average finish of 24. That sucks. Average starting position of 26. But if he can start in the back, I don't mind it. 24 to 19 DraftKings points is not that great. Started 30th, 22nd. Again, not that great. I like that he's been practicing quite a bit, though. So, Keselowski, you can keep him on your radar. Again, we're going to have to play some of these guys. It's not going to be pretty. If you want to just split your ownership between all these guys and just hope some of them avoid the wrecks, yeah, that's fine. So, Keselowski, don't hate it. You're going to have to play some of these guys. Ricky Stenhouse Jr., averaging 27 DraftKings points per race. That's not too bad at 5,900. Average finish of 24, but he's starting in the back on average 31st. So if you look at the driver log, 33rd, 31st, 29th, 21st, 23rd, 28th. Not pretty, but that'll get the job done at his price point. So Ricky Stenhouse Jr. is fine. Ty Dillon's fine, averaging 27 DraftKings points per race. He's a younger guy. Average finish of 20th, average start of 23rd. Don't mind it. If you look at the driver log, started 28th, 24th, 18th, finished 19th, 16th, 25th, 34th, 36th, 12th. I think Ty Dillon's fine. I feel like he's going to be a more popular, cheap guy. Now, Ty Dillon's a guy I like to play a lot when he's cheap in real-life NASCAR, so I don't mind Ty Dillon. Austin Dillon, I don't like him in real life, and I don't like him in iRacing either. He's only averaging 15 DraftKings points per race. Average finish of 23. I don't imagine Austin Dillon's going to have a great race. 14 points, -6 points. Did fine in the last race, though. 39 points. I believe he was actually in the optimal, but I don't know. I just don't see that happening again. He might just screw me because Austin Dillon loves screwing me, but he's cheap. I'll give him that. He's cheap, but I wouldn't expect too much. But I'll probably have some ownership just because of the price point because I want to fit in some higher-end studs. Chris Buescher, averaging 23 DraftKings points per race. If you look at the driver log, started 28th, 18th, 21st, 28th, 18th, 23rd, 37 points, which is pretty good last race. 26 and 9. So Buescher's fine. Again, we're going to have to play some of these cheap guys, but I would just put my ownership up because it's not pretty back there. And Ryan Blaney, really good in real life, not so good at iRacing, only averaging 14 DraftKings points per race, which is the worst of anybody not named Christopher Bell and Daniel Suarez. So I wouldn't really have too much interest in it. If you look at the driver log, Blaney started 26th, finished 27th, started 19th, finished 26th, 16 points, 13 points. Don't expect much different here. So Ryan Blaney, not really too much on my radar. But by far, my favorite play would be William Byron. I feel like he's going to be the dominator of this race. As long as he starts on the pole, it should be just an absolute domination of William Byron. But again, no idea where these guys are going to start. But hope this video was helpful. If it was, remember to leave a like. If you're new to the channel, please hit that subscribe button. Really helps me out. Really appreciate it. You can follow me over on Twitter. I'm at ChrisPennell16. Again, I wouldn't really recommend signing up for Patreon. If you do, just to get my spreadsheet and get my Discord, I'll refund you right away. And hopefully we can get some sports back soon. Hopefully NASCAR can start up in May. That would be absolutely awesome. Hopefully baseball can start up soon for then. And yeah, that's pretty much it. See you guys in the next video. And if you have any questions, comment below. Yeah, that's pretty much it. See you in the next video.